Welcome, everybody, to the series finale of the four-part series. I'm going to go through what I feel is the best startup team, and I will give you a breakdown into the reasons as to why I chose each individual hero, and then why those three combine to make the best team. There are a couple things to think about before we start, is eliminate the luck stat. Why is that? The luck stat, as you can tell, is 50 across the board for everybody. Everything in gray that you see here are the heroes that not only take lore, get that hero by doing something outside of the main game. So you have to do one of these other adventures in order to get those other heroes. All I did was put them in gray just to highlight that it takes a little bit extra in order to be able to get those heroes. But as you can see, is I did not highlight the people that take lore. In order to acquire lore, what you need to do is play the game a little bit in order to collect some lore. It doesn't take a lot of time to do that, but if I do select a hero that does require lore or does require an expansion, I will give you a secondary option. There is one last thing to take into consideration before we get started. There is a brand new DLC that came out that costs some money to purchase. I have purposely not included those two new heroes into this list because after I give you the information in this particular video about hero selection, you will be able to make the distinction on if those two heroes are good or not. Hopefully this information will help you get the information that you need in order to be able to make the proper hero selection. Alright, so now let's start off with the talent hero. So right off the start, you guys may find this a little bit controversial, but you have to eliminate one hero right from the get-go. And why is that? Because you can only select 3, and you've got 4 choices. In order to actually understand why the talent hero is not part of the selection for your best hero team, it's actually going to take much more than me just kind of explaining it right from the start. What we're going to want to go through is actually the different hero selections, and then at the very end explain to you as to why I don't feel the talent hero is the best. When I do further guides, I'm not going to just eliminate talking about talent hero at all. Of course, it's a viable hero. They wouldn't have it in the game. A lot of people win using this hero. When I'm talking about coming up with the best composition, I'm going to have to eliminate one of them, and the talent hero is that particular hero. For the strength hero, there is one that I feel that stands out over the other one. Before I move forward in the actual hero selection, if you guys remember from my previous videos, we talked about your 1 offensive stat and your 2 defensive stats as being your base stats. So we're going to balance that across the other heroes. The best skill is evasion. Right behind that is speed. And then vitality is not going to play much of a role, if any, in terms of the selecting of the hero. Then on top of it too, we talked about skills. And that is going to be important because remember when we talked about in part 1 about staying alive, part 2 was about your stats and how to understand that with focus and trying to get it to 90, and then your skills. And what we're doing is combining all that together to try to figure out what is your best hero selection. So now right off the start, what you will see is the woodcutter has the highest amount of strength, he has the highest amount of evasion, and the highest amount of speed. So right away, what you would think is when you are trying to select your heroes, you would go right away and just select the woodcutter. There's one other thing to keep into consideration, and that's what skills this particular hero has. Justice and Elite Door Bash are not good skills. So then if you go one more down to the blacksmith, you see Steadfast. Now right below that, your monk has Party Heal. Even though that you heard me talk a lot about Party Heal and how important that is, that's not where I'd be selecting this hero. When the reason why selecting the blacksmith and why I'd be willing to sacrifice a couple strength, 1 evasion, and a couple speed is the skill Steadfast. Steadfast is a very strong skill. And why is that? What Steadfast does is it allows for you to block all damage. And when you're first starting off the game, to be able to avoid taking any damage on altogether is a very strong skill. On top of it too, in order to get steadfast, it's very difficult. There's only 2 shields to get in the game, which means I don't like locking heroes into a particular like weapon or shield just so you can get one of these really good skills. And since his strength, evasion, and speed are actually pretty decent compared to the woodcutter, I would select the blacksmith as your hero of choice. So now into the intelligent hero. The scholar does have the best stats starting off with. Party heal is so important that I don't really care. Now, for those of you that are starting off in the game and do not have the lore to purchase the herbalist or have not downloaded the expansion to be able to get the monk, you're going to have to settle on the scholar. Your scholar is a better hero to select, so you have a little bit more versatility in terms of the weapon choices as you go throughout the game. But the problem is when you get locked into using a particular weapon, I would much rather have the herbalist to start, so then you have total flexibility in terms of the weapons that you choose. So even though the stats are a little bit lower on the herbalist, I would select the herbalist as your hero. Now what we're going to get into is the awareness hero. This one actually is a simple choice. It's because the top hero in this slot requires no lore. All the stats are the highest. And on top of it too, he's got 4 different skills. The skills that are actually in the heroes below, outside of looking at someone like the herbalist for party heal, but again, you've already selected the herbalist in the intelligence slot, there is really no reason to select anyone other than the hunter. So let's wrap this all up into a nice little bow so you guys understand why those selections were also made in conjunction with the overall team aspect. You have a strength hero that will take on all of the damage. You have an intelligence hero that can heal all your heroes. And then you have an awareness hero that ends up avoiding all damage as well too. The hunter is selected just because of its sheer base stats. Nothing to do with the skills. And what some of you that are new to the game may not understand is like, why would you select the awareness hero over the talent hero? And it's mainly because of evasion. Now, you sit there and say, well, evasion's really that powerful at 20 compared to the 11 in the talent. That seems pretty ridiculous. Well, there's one thing that you're not taking into consideration. And this is actually going to steamroll me into my next series, which has to do with the fact that in order to increase your awareness, there is a lot of equipment and armor that allows for you to increase also your evasion while you're increasing your awareness. Talent is not like that. Strength is not like that. Intelligence is not like that. So your awareness hero ends up naturally getting a lot more evasion. That's where this leaves out the talent hero. Now, the future videos, you're going to see the talent hero does have some pretty strong weapons, but I don't believe that offsets the better setup that you have with these particular heroes: the blacksmith, the herbalist, and the hunter.